Minister White, while I'm delighted to see you here and thank you for being here, I'm sorry in a way that Minister Quinn isn't present, and I'll tell you why. It's now some 432 days since I brought to his attention and to the attention of this Dáil an incident between a then 13-year-old child and a principal of a school in Sligo, resulting in that young boy refusing to go back to school since 2009. I gave the Minister documentary evidence detailing the medical, psychiatric and psychological impact on the child. I outlined how the child had threatened to run away from home or worse. I detailed the efforts made by the boy's parents to resolve the issue through contacts with the principal, the School Board of Management, the National Education and Welfare Service and various offices and officials within the Department of Education and the Department of Children, and in contact with politicians from every political party. Minister Quinn said that he was very concerned about the case detail and would take a personal interest in the matter. And he said, and I quote, "The amount of time this impasse has existed is simply unacceptable in a democratic republic." And I took heart from those words, and perhaps I was politically naive, but when I left the chamber on that night of the 16th of November 2011, I was hopeful that he would do something to right this grievous wrong, and that he would introduce policies and the necessary legislation to ensure that there could never again be a recurrence of an incident such as this. Now, I don't know what happened between the time the Minister left the chamber on the night of the 16th of November 2011 and the time I had some follow-up questions, which was, I think, some 3 or 4 weeks later. But it very quickly became apparent to me that the status quo was going to maintain. That boards of management would continue to investigate themselves when accused of wrongdoing, and that the Minister and the Department of Education and Skills would continue to keep an arm's length distance between legislators, policy makers and those who deliver services. And I would say that this Minister is not delegation of responsibility, it's abrogation of responsibility. And in a country and at a time when we can no longer claim ignorance of the damage done by unregulated institutions, how can we, with any credibility, continue to perpetuate an education structure where boards of management are self-regulating, self-controlling, self-accounting, self-investigating and self-reporting? This Sinn Féin Bill amendment does not seek to overthrow the whole system of education in this country. It doesn't seek to make sweeping changes to the way boards of management work, or to the relationships between boards of management and the Department of Education and the Department of Children. All it seeks to do is to provide for binding mandatory measures to be imposed on the boards of management of each school to ensure that the welfare of a child is adequately safeguarded in relation to all forms of bullying that may occur within a school. The bill also places a requirement on the Minister for Education to introduce legislation to give legal status to existing guidelines and to review the guidelines every 2 years to ensure that they are being strictly followed in order to ensure the safety and the well-being of each and every pupil in a school in Ireland. Now, Minister, unless you can demonstrate to me and to others in the Dáil and to others outside the Dáil that you propose to quickly introduce legislation, not guidelines, to ensure that the current legislative and reporting flaws are addressed, then please support this bill as an honest basis for further discussion and for further deliberation with all groups of people. And finally, Minister, I say this. The child that I spoke of in my first paragraph, he's now a young man of 16 who remains psychologically damaged. He continues to be educated at home at the expense of the state. And it's because of our failure as legislators to provide him, his parents and others like him throughout the country with safeguards to ensure his safety and well-being, and critically with access to redress when things go wrong. He and his parents, and I'm sure others like him, are being denied justice. And please, Minister, let's make sure that this is the last case such as this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.